It's Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for Endocrinology. I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted. Hey, 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 hey. This is another check-in. We are now at how many hours? How many hours? So we started yesterday. So we are 24 hours into this week's fast. We're heading to 72 hours. And I just wanted to welcome you and say hello. Give a quick shout out to all of you that are out there, those of you who've been following, those of you who've been joining, those who've been fasting, and even those of you who have been silently watching and kind of, sticking your toe into the water here and there. I hear stories from some of our members, of family members who are, talking now about a different way of eating, a different way of being. And it is amazing to see that your influence is affecting other people. And so that's what I actually want to talk about today. Hey, Cornelia, how are you? One of the things that we did when we did our check-in, or not check-in, but we did our mini series, the 100-day walk to consistency in health, is we talked about the influence that we have on others. But before we get there, health is an amazing process. Hey, what's up, Pamela? Our health, there are two things that we have that are our most valuable possessions. They are our health and our time. And if we manage our time well, and some people say you can't manage time, but that's a whole nother conversation. But if we do a good job, let me say it that way, of our time, and we take care of our health, then we are rich and we are able to function beyond measure. If any one of those two is compromised, hear me, if any one of those two is compromised, then the chances of long-time success begins to diminish. And so we want to always be mindful of the fact that we are doing the best possible job of our time and our health. And in this space, and we've talked about time before, we'll have that in another conversation. But in this space, we're talking about our health. How are we managing our health? What are we doing for our health? And we've been walking through the health action plan, the Limitless Living Health Action Plan. We did the domains of health. Now we did the Limitless Living Health Action Plan. And it is with the idea that there are so many of our chronic illnesses, chronic diseases that can be directly linked to our dysfunctional metabolism. Dysfunctional metabolism. And metabolism is the process that we call when the body takes food, the things we eat, and it converts it to energy. That's what metabolism is. And anytime there is a dysfunction in any of the steps in our metabolism, then things go awry. So whether that's stuff that we eat, right, the types of things that we eat, or the fact that the things that we eat may be contaminated, or for some reason the things we eat are conformed or transformed in a way that our bodies don't readily absorb it, or we eat it and there's some physical issue where the body doesn't absorb all the nutrients, or something is being amplified that we're eating in the food, or now the body takes it in and it processes it, it absorbs it, and it has an abnormal response to it, or it takes it in, it absorbs it, it has a normal response, but some reason down the road something goes wrong. So anywhere along that process, we can have difficulty. And so our goal is always, how do we maximize the process? Now, I know that we can become super hyper vigilant in this process. And so I'm not talking about, well, let me say, I'm gonna try to say it nicely. I'm not talking about going off half cocked and becoming so ultra, for lack of a better, so ultra good that you become this. Can I say it? Can I say it? You become this person that is just an irritation to everybody around you. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being a normal person, but yet being someone who is attentive to your health. And that's what the Limitless Living Health Action Plan is. It is a plan, it is a blueprint, it is a way of thinking, a way of processing It is the functional arm of limitless living. It is the medical or the health functional arm of limitless living, right? Because we have all kinds of other concepts that we can talk about. But in terms of health, this is the functional blueprint that we're using to walk through that process. It's kind of like, and I give the example of getting on an airplane and the guy or the gal, the pilot comes on, they can either rush in and just grab the yoke and, start taxiing off, and you're like, wait, did you check everything on this plane? Did you make sure that everything was working the way it's supposed to be working? Do you have a checklist? And if you follow the checklist, well, the likelihood that we take off and get to where we need to be in a safe manner on time, the likelihood goes up. And so what I'm saying to you is the Limitless Living Health Action Plan says that if you check these boxes off, if you walk through this process, if you go through this list, if you go through this blueprint, if you follow the plan, then the likelihood that along with time, because we've already dealt with time, and health, right, the two most important or most valuable things, your likelihood of being successful goes up astronomically. And so part of that whole plan, and we walk through now 6 of the pillars, right? So walking and fasting, which we're doing today, and strength training, balanced bites, how we fuel the body, and rest and restoration. And just this week we introduced mental mastery, right? So how we think and how that impacts everything. And so here we are talking about one of the pillars, and the pillar that we're talking about is fasting. How does fasting help? How does fasting work? How does fasting improve our health? And so you've heard that this idea of food as medicine, right? Food as medicine. And what better way to utilize medicine than to find a way to help our body use the things we're putting in more effectively and to basically reset the system. So all the time we're going through and we're eating these things that have adverse effects, or they're having abnormal effects, or they're causing dysfunction. And fasting is really a reset. Fasting says, I'm going into this house, this body, and I'm gutting it. I'm taking out all the trash. I'm taking out all the damaged parts. I'm taking out all the things that are not usable, all the things that are not working, all the things that are causing problem. I'm resetting the whole system, and then now I'm allowing you to come back and put things in the way they're supposed to be so that our metabolism becomes righted. So that's what fasting does. So all the things that we may talk about, that is if you say to me, what is the basis? What's the fundamentals of fasting? That's what it is right there, right? In a very short snippet. We could talk about all kinds of other things, right? How fasting helps with our spirituality, how fasting helps with our emotions, how fasting helps with our mindset, how fasting helps us with problem solving, right? All of those are true things. But in this space, when we talk about fasting, we're talking about how we get fasting to help us regulate and get our metabolism back into focus. That's the big idea. All right. Now, there are so many of you that are going to have and are having tremendous benefit. You're seeing the weight come down. You're seeing the blood sugars improve. You're seeing the A1C get better. You're seeing your skin get better. You're seeing your fatty liver improve. You're seeing polycystic ovarian syndrome get better. All those things are happening. And what I want to encourage you, limitless living, right? So limitless living says I'm not allowing anything from outside or anything from inside to prevent me from doing what I need to do. I'm showing up with my best self, my best health, my best plans. That is what we say. A part of that process has to be, though, the community, right? So we educate, we empower, we encourage, right? That encourage part is community. So we are in community. We have to be in community. We are designed to have connection. We're designed to be with other people, to make connections. And if we truly are in community, we cannot have an improvement in one of those two valuable places, either our time or our health, without then saying to the community, let me help bring you along with me. Let me show you a way that will help you to be functional, that will help you to be in a space that your health and your time, those valuable things, are being used to the maximum. Once you follow the train of thought, right? So limitless living, and our platform, educate, empower, encourage. I'm not letting anything inhibit me from doing what I need to do to be successful. I am going to be successful partially because I'm in community. If I'm in community, that community around me has to improve as I'm improving. And one of the ways that the community improves is if I am instrumental in helping the community. So that there are people that are going to ask you questions. They're going to say to you, man, your doctor's going to say to you, wow, how did you improve your blood sugars like that? How are you able to get off the medication? Man, we've had you on blood pressure medicine for a long time. Look at this. How did this happen? Man, look at all the weight you lost. How are you doing? As a matter of fact, I ran into one of my colleagues just a little while ago as I was coming up upstairs back into the office, and I hadn't seen her for a while. And she said, man, you've lost some weight. I said, what's going on? Right? So not in an obnoxious way, but when people see you, when people understand, when people are hearing the success that you're having, then that's an opportunity for you to say to them, hey, I have been doing some stuff that and here's my thing, right? You guys know that I have struggled for a long time with metabolism, right? We'll just put all the stuff I've struggled with inside the metabolism bucket. And so for me, when people say to me, what's going on? I say to them, I said, look, I've had such a struggle for a long time, and I finally found something that's really helping me. That's it. That's what I say. Done. I used to say, oh, I'm fasting. Oh, I'm doing this. So I don't proceed with that conversation unless that person now shows interest, right? Because sometimes, say, hey, I'm fasting, and their eyes kind of glaze over, or hey, I'm doing this, their eyes glaze over, right? Because they were being friendly, they were asking questions, but they weren't really interested in what's going on. So when I say, man, I finally found something that's really helpful for me, right? And then we continue the conversation. They say, and I'm going on, right? Because I'm ready to go into the different conversation about why we're here. We're at a meeting, right? And they'll say to me, well, hey, can we talk after? And I said, sure. Because I'm thinking they're talking about, what we're here for. And they'll say, well, tell me, what are you doing? What did you do? How did this happen? And I could say to them now, I can walk through some of the process, right? I don't try to do a exhaustive treatise on health, right? Because we've done that for so long. We've done that. We've been teaching. We've been lecturing. We've been doing that for so long, and that does not work. Meeting people where they are and saying to them, there is a different way. There's a different way. And a good point to be made there, by the way, is you hear me say that all the things we do are tools. They are tools in our tool bag. They're tools in our bucket. They're tools in our bin. I pick it up, I put it down. I use it when I need to use it, and I put it down when I don't need to use it, okay? So there are probably 1,000 different ways to manage the things we talk about. Let me say that. So fasting, as great as fasting is not the ultimate and the absolute and the only way of righting your metabolism. In fact, right, so here's I love this. In fact, all the things that we do in the Health Action Plan, all of them have components of what fasting does. In fact, right? In fact, when we talk about, let's take something that's on the market right now. So GLP-1 receptor agonists. Those are those medications everybody's talking about. The miracle medications that are being used for weight loss. And by the way, let me hasten to say right here, put a pin and make a plug for those medications. And people poo-poo them. They say people are taking the easy way out and so forth. That's a whole nother conversation. But for a long time, we had absolutely nothing that was successful in helping us manage people who were struggling with weight and obesity. And so finally we have something that is working. I think we need to couch it in a different conversation than the way we're using it, but it is working. And so for the people who need it, that is an absolute, I love the fact that people are getting benefits, right? Okay, now, so let's go back. So GLP-1 receptor agonists. What GLP-1 receptor agonists do at their heart, in terms of the weight part of it, is they help to suppress appetite. I'm gonna pause there, I'm gonna pause there, I'm gonna pause there, I'm gonna pause there. Because if you've been following us, if you've been listening to the things we say, we talk about the fact that the food is a big problem in terms of dysfunctional metabolism. Well, we can manage food in lots of different ways, right? We can say, go ahead and eat whatever you want and take medication to treat the blood sugars and treat, right? Or we can say, hey, stop eating that stuff. Or we can say, we're going to take all the stuff away. Or we can ask the person, why are you eating this stuff? Now, the beauty of the GLP-1 receptor agonists is that they suppress the appetite, they quiet the noise, they quiet the food noise to allow the prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of your brain, to take over in those situations where you normally would have turned to food as a buffer, right? So the noise is just a little quieter. And because the noise is quieter, it allows you to take over the thought process so that you are no longer simply just grabbing whatever's there. Do you know what also does that? Eating balanced bites, right? So one of our pillars. Strength training, one of our pillars. Fasting, one of our pillars, right? So the pillars that we're using are specific ways of doing things that we have other tools that can use it. They can do it, right? The GLP-1 receptor is a perfect example. The reason I chose that is that everybody knows about that. But the same things that they do, you can do the same things with the process that we are walking through. So don't think that, okay, it has to be this way or it has to be. Here's the thing. I don't really care how we get our metabolism righted. You could decide you're going to go ballroom dancing or do somersault. You could become a gymnast. You're going to become a bodybuilder. The idea is not that the tool itself is the key, right? Well, let me say the idea is not we're not tied to a tool. What we're tied to is the result. So we want the metabolism to become functional, because if the metabolism becomes functional, then we are able then to have long life, healthy life, and long life, long, healthy life. Those two things. Maximize the benefit of the two most valuable things that we have. Having said that, though, if you look around, the things that we've been teaching, the way we've been thinking, the way we've been talking about blood sugars, the way we've been talking about health and metabolism, it has not translated into the benefits that we thought. So we pour millions of dollars into healthcare. In fact, billions of dollars into healthcare. And yet, with all the money that we pour into healthcare, and I'm talking us as a society, we are still seeing chronic disease on the rise. Over and over and over. When I look at the numbers, right? When the CDC puts out the numbers, that the World Health Organization puts out the numbers continue to grow. More and more and more people are becoming dysfunctional in their metabolism. We're getting more diabetes. We're getting more people who have high blood pressure, more people who have heart attacks, more people who are having peripheral artery disease, more people who are having fatty liver. We're so much so that we're renaming diseases now. It used to be called NASH, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Now it's called MASH, metabolically associated steatohepatitis. Because we're understanding more and more about what it is, but it's not going away. And so the Health Action Plan is a way of saying, look, we know that there are other things out there that we can do. We know that there are other ways of doing this. But most people don't fail in their process. And I'm not just talking health now. I'm talking about just in general. In whatever you want to do. Most of the time, you don't succeed in that, not because you didn't have a desire, not because you didn't have a vision, not even because you didn't have know-how. You don't succeed because you didn't have structure. And the Limitless Living Health Action Plan gives us that structure. It says, here are 7 pillars. if I follow these 7 pillars, if I walk through the process, if I walk through the process, I'm going to have success. And when you have success, what I'm saying to you is you now have to turn around, because we are in community. You've got to turn around and you've got to say to somebody else in your community, come along with me. Let's walk this process together. Let's walk this road together, and not send them, right? So I've got a bunch of friends, and I can't tell you the number of times that a friend has says to me, hey, go over there and do this thing. And I didn't do it. Even though I knew that I needed it, even though it was good for me, even though I saw the benefits, you know, when I did it was when the friend came along and said, hey, come, let's go, let me go help you with this. So I don't want you to send people anywhere. What I want you to do is I want you to, in your success, be an example. Not an arrogant example, be an example. So that you could say to people, hey, when they say to you, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing differently? And you can say, okay, I'm doing this. I finally found something that's working. And when they say, oh, what is it? He said, well, come, let me show you. Let me tell you about it. Let me tell you how it's working for me. Let me tell you why it's working for me. And share your story. Let them know what the struggles are that you had. Because as you're telling the story, they're going to say, man, that's my problem too. Right? So don't just give them the result. Don't just give them the highlight reels. Because people don't identify with highlight reels. In fact, what highlight reels do is they make us think that we can't reach that. Right? When you're watching the internet, hey Jennifer, how are you? When you're scrolling through whatever social media you're on, right, and you see those people, you're like, man, wow, look at that. Look how I can never get there. But if they showed you where they came from and showed you the walk and showed you the challenges, showed you the hurdles and how they overcame the hurdles, then all of a sudden now you're like, man, if they can do it, then I can do that. One of the challenges for me over the years has been to be in the metabolic space as what people consider one of the experts in the metabolic space, and to struggle with metabolism myself. Right? Can you imagine what that's like? To be the person tasked with helping people with the same thing that you struggle with. And for a long time, there was a lot of guilt, a lot of shame that came from that. Yeah, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of avoidance. And you can see the cycle, right? It's because there's guilt, there's shame, there's avoidance. You buffer to feel better, you buffer to feel better, and it just perpetuates the problem. And so now your weight goes up, blood sugars are higher, and you go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And so there's this struggle that happened. And I shared with my wife. Actually, I shared with I did a talk a couple weeks ago. I shared with the guys I was talking to. There came a point where I had to make a decision. And the decision didn't come easily. In fact, the decision came under very challenging circumstances. The decision came because I fell out. I was whitewater rafting and I fell out off the raft. And I was under the raft, couldn't breathe. And instinctively did what I thought was the best thing. I grabbed on to the raft, the edges. But the more I held on, the more the raft, because the raft is moving faster than me, right? So it's on me, on top of me, right? And I'm underneath, and I can't breathe. And my lungs are burning now. And all I needed to do was let go. But I didn't know where the rapids would take me, so I wouldn't let go. I didn't know what was going to happen, so I didn't let go. And I held on because I thought the thing I was holding on to was the thing that was going to save me, right? Because it's the raft. If it's floating, then I'm floating. But yeah, it was floating, but it was on top of me, preventing me from getting much needed air. And under that raft, I had to make a decision. And the decision was this: do I stay here and run the possibility of not surviving? Or do I get out of here? Do I let go? And despite the fact that I don't know what's going to happen when I let go, I don't know where the rapids are going to take me. I actually couldn't even see where we were as we were going down the rapids. Do I stay here or do I let go? And the survival instinct in me said, dude, I think my brain, right? My brain came out of me, and the brain said, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm letting go, right? It's better for me to be out there. My chances of survival are better out there than it is right here. And so I let go, and there's a whole another part of that conversation. But once that happened, and I had already started the process, the mindset change, and the building a new version of myself, but I was still heavy. I was still struggling with weight. I was still struggling with blood sugars. I was still struggling with the A1C. Blood pressure was high. In fact, years ago, and this part of the story I have not shared before, I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, ended up having the surgeries for sleep apnea to take out all the UP3, right? So all of those are complications that came from the dysfunctional metabolism where I was. And I had to say to myself, I don't understand what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. But I know I can't stay here. I can't stay in this position. Because the more I stay here, the more I'm creating dysfunction. And remember I told you the two most valuable things we own are our health and our time. I was wasting time. And I was making my health worse. And so the decision had to be made. And right now, there are a lot of people who have been following, you've been watching me fast, and you're watching the team fast, you're watching our community fast, and you're not quite sure. You've tried other things before. You tried your weight, your diets, you tried the diet plan, you went on the juicing plan, you went on the low carb plan, you went on whatever the plan was that you went on. And every time you go to the doctor, the weight is up, the blood pressure's up, the blood sugars are up, and they keep putting you on more and more and more and more medication. And you're not sure what happens if you decide that you're going to follow the Limitless Living Health Action Plan. But you know already in your mind that you can't stay where you are. And so my encouragement to you is try it. A simple thing that we can do is fasting. And that brings us to where we are today. We're fasting. 72 hours is what we do. I recommend 24 hours for everybody unless there's an absolute medical issue that your doctor says, no, you can't fast. What we're doing is we are righting the metabolism. We're changing the metabolism from dysfunction to proper function. If we can do that, then the downstream benefit for diabetes, prediabetes, obesity, fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, some cancers, the potential goes off the charts in terms of improvement. And if you have good health, man, and you got some time, pair those two things together, and you are unstoppable. But if one of those is compromised, can you imagine if you had great health and somebody said, well, you don't have any more time left? Or you have all the time, but your health is bad. You're in the bed, you're at the hospital, you're on dialysis, right? You've had a heart attack, you can't do certain things. Your weight is so high that you can't move around. Time and health. The benefit of those two together is astronomical. And so here, if you're going to be fasting with me, if you fasted with me yesterday, I want you to put 1 in the chat, in the comments. If you're fasting today, if you started your fast today, when we started today, or as we're going through this episode, you want to put a 2. If you're going to fast with me tomorrow, put a 3. And if you're doing the total fast, I want you to put a T. Right? 1 for yesterday, 2 for today, 3 for tomorrow, and a T for the total fast. We'll be doing our check-in tonight at 9 p.m. Central officially. Come join us, come be a part of the community, and see the benefits that people are getting and hear how we fast successfully. How do we pair this concept of mental mastery? How do we pair the thought process with the benefit of fasting and all the other aspects of our Limitless Living Health Action Plan? So I'm right now 24 hours in, actually a little over 24 hours now, and I'm looking forward to my 72 hours. On Friday, we'll do our complete fast, our complete review of fasting, how to prepare for the fast, how to get through the fast, how to break the fast. You get to see what I eat as I eat my first meal. If you have some comments, if you have some suggestions, that is, go ahead and drop those in the comments. Now, I've got to tell you, one of my challenges that's going to be tomorrow is because I have a business meeting that's specifically designed, well, the people are coming specifically to meet with me, and we're going out to dinner, take me out to dinner. My plan is not to eat, so I'm not, that's my plan. We connect over food. So my plan is to go to dinner because we couldn't do it a different day. But we'll see how that goes, right? So I see a T from Cornelia. Cornelia, come on now, let's do it. And for those of you who did it yesterday and ended today, kudos to you, hand clap to you. Those of you who are starting today, my hat's off to you. Congratulations on making a decision. Those of you who are coming tomorrow, who are going to be fasting with us for the last leg of this week, I'm waiting to see you. I'm waiting for you to be part of this. It is an amazing process as we are walking through being healthy together. And remember that you, as a part of the community, Triple E Formula for Success, Educate, Empower, Encourage, you cannot have benefits. You cannot live a limitless life if you are not helping the community to be better, right? So somebody in your circle struggles with metabolism. Somebody in your circle struggles with diabetes. Somebody in your circle struggles with some other chronic illness. And you get to be the voice that says, hey, yeah, I can do this. And we can do it together. Okay? All right. Well, thank you. I see Jennifer. I see Cornelia, Pamela. I saw you out there. All of those, the rest of you who are out there watching, thank you for coming through. We will do our check-in tonight at 9 p.m. Central. And we will move through the process. I'm excited. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted. And we're not letting anything prevent us from doing what we need to do. We're presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plans for our life. Go live a limitless life. And I'll see you at our next episode. Bye-bye.